So how to qualify for Medicaid? Well, the first question, there's basically three things we look at. Medical eligibility, income eligibility, and resource eligibility. So when it comes to medical eligibility, that's a pretty easy one to meet. I'm going to see if I can share my screen with you. And if I can, I'm not going to do it, but let me see if I can do that. Hold on just a sec. I'm hoping you can see this screen. Raise your hand. I can see some of you. Can you raise your hand? Does it say medical eligibility and show pictures? Great. Thank you. All right. So medical eligibility, if you are in a skilled nursing facility, obviously you meet these requirements of needing help with eating, bathing, dressing, transferring, toileting, movement. Even people that don't need this help, but maybe they have a cognitive disability. Maybe they have Alzheimer's, for example, a very significant one, a disability. They're going to meet this criteria, even if they're physically fairly robust. And you may know somebody like that. They've got Alzheimer's, they can do all these things, but they need that kind of direction so that they are safe. That meets the medical eligibility criteria. So that's usually pretty easy to meet. Now let's talk about financial eligibility. So for financial eligibility, what we're talking about is income tests. So for income tests in a skilled nursing, that's pretty easy too. You know, if the skilled nursing facility costs $12,000 and your income is less than that, you meet that criteria. For at-home care or assisted living or adult family home care, you'd be surprised to know that in Washington state, 8,927 is the standard. So if your income is less than that, you meet the income eligibility criteria. Then there's another program we have in Washington. The reason I'm pointing it out is it's called Community First Choice, CFC. And the income standard for that is lower, but it has a special quirk to it that it doesn't have a look back to it. So that's an important program we're going to be talking about and how it impacts no spend down. So next, what we're going to be talking about is resource eligibility. For the person who needs a Medicaid, they only can have $2,000 in countable. We'll talk about what's countable, what's not. The community spouse, and this is why I'm saying that Medicaid is not an impoverishment program per se for married couples, because you can see that the minimum amount, somebody who is what we call the well spouse, the person not needing care, the minimum amount they're allowed to keep in countable assets is almost $60,000, $59,890. Up to $137,400 if the ill spouse is in Medicaid in a skilled nursing facility. To get that higher standard, the ill spouse has to be in the skilled nursing facility, and when they enter the institution, that hospital or facility, they had to have double that amount. So if somebody had double $137,400, they can keep half of that, or $137,400. So let's say they had countable resources of $400 when they went into the facility. Can they keep $200,000? No, but they can keep the $137,400. Let's say they had $200,000 when they went into the facility. Well, half of that is only $100,000. So that's all that they get to keep. The point of it is, though, is that how is anybody supposed to know these rules? You know, most lawyers don't know these rules unless what they focus on is Medicaid. So I want you to be aware, just keep in mind, not these numbers, but keep in mind the fact that if you are married in particular, there is money that can be kept. And exactly how much, certainly the lawyer can help you with that, but I want you to be aware that you don't have to spend down all of your money. And in addition to that, I want you to be aware of what we call exempt resources. What exempt resources are those resources that Medicaid doesn't count for a single or a couple. So let's say you have a house and you live in the house, and that house might be worth, if you're a couple, it could be worth $1 million. It does not disqualify you from Medicaid. And if you're a single person, the standard was just raised how much equity they can have. It's over $900,000. That house does not disqualify anyone from Medicaid. So is Medicaid an impoverishment program? You're a single person, you can have your house worth more than $900,000. You can have a car, all the personal property that you have, life insurance policy, which is very odd. The face value has to be less than $1,500. Really kind of a ridiculous rule. Who has a life insurance policy with a face value of less than $1,500? An irrevocable burial plan, cremation plan doesn't count. Burial plot or urn doesn't count. Business property that you rely upon for your income doesn't count as a resource. A long-term care insurance partnership policy doesn't count. Of course, if you have that, you're probably not looking for Medicaid, but if you do have it, you still should talk to an elder law attorney about planning, because sometimes policies run out. Sometimes they're only for 2 years or 3 years. And then what are you going to do after that? It's a great planning opportunity if you have long-term care insurance. And probably the most important planning tool that we have is a single premium immediate annuity. And that is used primarily for couples. We'll talk about that and show in examples how we use that. So.